Thomas and friends, making tracks to great destinations. The island of Sodor is surrounded by beautiful blue sea. It has fields of green and sandy yellow beaches. There are rivers, streams, and lots of trees where the birds sing. There are windmills and a coal mine, and docks where visitors to the island arrive. The island also has lots and lots of railway lines. Who's that puffing down the track? It's Thomas! Hello, Thomas! Hello, everybody! Welcome to the island of Sodor. It was a baking hot summer on the island of Sodor. The sun was shining brightly. James and Toby were taking children to the seaside. It was a wonderful job. All the engines liked seeing the children's happy faces, and they loved hearing them cheer when they saw the sea. Thomas wished he was taking children to the seaside, but Thomas was taking a big tank of raspberry syrup to the ice cream factory. Down on the beach, it was very hot, and the ice cream lady had run out of ice cream. So when Thomas arrived at the ice cream factory, the factory manager was waiting for him. "We have to make lots more ice cream," he cried. "You must go and get the cream, the chocolate, and the strawberries." Thomas was disappointed. He had lots to collect, and he wanted to take children to the seaside. "If we get everything in time," said Thomas's driver, "then we can still take some children." So Thomas rushed to the dairy. He collected the cream, and he puffed away quickly. Next, Thomas had to collect some strawberries, so he raced through the countryside to Farmer McColl's. Then Thomas had to stop for James. "Out of the way," snorted James. "Passenger train coming through." James's carriages were full of laughing children. They were going to the seaside. "Why does James get to take the children?" moaned Thomas. At last, the crossing was clear and Thomas puffed away. "If I'm quick, I can still take some of the children," he puffed. So Thomas raced as fast as he could. Soon, Thomas arrived at Farmer McColl's. "Please be quick," Thomas panted. The farm workers loaded his freight car. Before long, it was filled with plump, ripe strawberries. "Thank you," Thomas chuffed, and he raced away. Next, he had to go to the chocolate factory. Thomas hurried through the baking sun. "I've still got time to take some children to the seaside," he panted. Thomas puffed faster and faster. His wheels clattered and his pistons pumped. But he puffed so fast the signalman didn't change the points in time. Thomas raced down the wrong track. "Bother!" cried Thomas. Thomas had to reverse slowly and carefully back to the points. Then he had to wait while Toby went past. Toby was taking more children to the seaside. They were having a wonderful time. Everyone gets to take the children except me, moaned Thomas. At last, the signalman changed the points. Thomas reversed back onto the track. And soon he was on his way once again. When Thomas arrived at the chocolate factory, it was getting late. "Hurry up," cried Thomas. "If I'm quick, I might still get to take some children." The workmen loaded Thomas's freight car as fast as they could. It was soon filled with heaps of chocolatey cocoa powder. Thomas was ready to go. But the shunters hadn't released the brakes on the freight cars. Thomas pulled as hard as he could, but the freight cars wouldn't move. "I have to hurry," puffed Thomas. He heaved, he huffed, and he puffed, and he heaved so hard. The coupling broke. Thomas shot forward. Cocoa powder flew everywhere. "Now I'll never get to take the children," puffed Thomas. After a long time, Thomas's freight cars were ready. The yard manager had released the brakes, and Thomas chuffed carefully out of the yard. Finally, the track turned left past the old church. Thomas arrived at the ice cream factory. He thought his job was nearly done, but he was wrong. The factory manager was waiting for him. "The ice cream will soon be ready," he said. "You must take it to the seaside for me." Thomas was very disappointed. He wished he could take children to the seaside instead. He wanted to hear them cheer when they saw the sea. Thomas puffed along the coast to the seaside. "I wish I was taking the children," sighed Thomas. Percy was waiting at the seaside station, and so were lots of children. They all cheered as Thomas pulled into the station. Thomas was surprised. "Why are the children cheering?" puffed Thomas. "They're cheering for you," laughed Percy. "They've been waiting for the ice cream." The children were delighted to see Thomas and delighted to eat the ice cream. Thomas loved seeing the children laugh and cheer. Sir Topham Hatt was waiting with the children. "Today you have worked extra hard," said Sir Topham Hatt. "You are a really useful engine." "Delivering ice cream is a fun job after all," puffed Thomas. He was very happy. Winter was coming to the island of Sodor. The morning ground was covered in crisp white frost. Thomas and Emily were happily chuffing up and down the line. Thomas was enjoying pulling Annie and Clarabelle. He thought he was doing a grand job. But Emily had other ideas. She thought he could be doing an even grander job. So Emily decided to help Thomas by telling him what he was doing wrong. When she saw him puffing down the branch line, she cried out, "Slow down! You're going too fast and bumping your passengers." Later, Emily saw Thomas by a bridge. He had stopped to take on water and was talking to some children. "Stop talking to the children," said Emily. "You are working and they will make you late." "I'm never late," said Thomas huffily. "There's always a first time," said Emily cheerfully, and she puffed away. Thomas was cross. He loved talking to children and thought Emily was being a big bossy Buffers. Annie and Clarabelle agreed. I am never going to listen to Emily ever again, said Thomas. So there. The next morning, a sleepy Thomas had to leave Tidmouth Sheds bright and early. He was to collect some freight cars from the quarry and take them to the docks. Later that morning, Sir Topham Hatt arrived with a new weather report. There is snow on the way. You must all have your snowplows fitted. Excuse me, sir, said Emily, but Thomas has already left for the quarry. Then you must find Thomas and tell him Sir Topham Hatt wants him to wear his snowplow. So Emily puffed away to get her snowplow fitted. The workman fixed Emily's snowplow on in no time at all, and she set off to find Thomas. Emily was very happy. She was looking forward to telling him what to do. Thomas was taking on water at Maithwaite Station. Emily puffed up in front of him. She blew her whistle, but Thomas didn't say hello. She just wants to boss me again, grouched Thomas. Thomas, she called, you must go and get your snowplow fitted. Thomas could hear what Emily was saying, but pretended he couldn't. He thought he was being very clever. So Emily tooted even louder again. You must go and get your snowplow fitted, she cried. Bother snowplows, said Thomas, and bother Emily. Anyway, the weather is perfectly fine, and he puffed away as fast as he could. Oh, Thomas! Thomas delivered the freight cars to the quarry, then set off to collect cream from the dairy. Everything was going well. But soon, the clear blue sky was eaten away by dark gray clouds. They look like snow clouds to me, said his driver. And he was right. Soon, big flakes of white snow began to fall. Then the snow gathered into drifts and covered the tracks. Cinders and ashes, cried Thomas as his wheels began to slip. Snow fell all over the island. Emily cut safely through the drifts with her snowplow. Thomas will be in trouble now. Emily was right. Thomas was working harder and harder, but he had to go more and more slowly. We can't go on, said his driver. Thomas pulled to a slow, sad stop by a signal box. And his driver went for help. It snowed and snowed. Thomas felt very cold and twice as miserable. Then he heard the sound of an engine. Thomas was delighted until he saw who his rescuer was. It was Emily. I told you to go and get your snowplow. Now look what's happened. Thomas was still cross. You should say sorry for bossing me about. I am sorry, said Emily. Sorry you didn't listen to me. Emily and Thomas chuffed into Tidmouth Sheds. Sir Topham Hatt was waiting. He did not look happy. Emily, you must take Thomas to get his snowplow fitted at once, said Sir Topham Hatt sternly. Thomas, you must learn to listen. Thomas felt bad. He didn't know it was Sir Topham Hatt who wanted him to wear his snowplow. Emily felt bad too. She didn't like seeing Thomas in trouble. I'm sorry, sir, she said. I forgot to tell Thomas it was your idea. You mean I have two engines that don't listen, boomed Sir Topham Hatt. Well, I never. Emily, you must take Thomas to get his snowplow fitted at once. Soon the work was finished, and Thomas was wearing his snowplow. Thank you for owning up, said Thomas. You are a very good friend. That's all right, said Emily. You are a good friend too. But next time, if you want to stay out of trouble, just do what I say. Even Thomas had to laugh. Thomas is a hard-working steam engine. Steam engines make lots of different sounds, and the sounds sound different in different places. Thomas's whistle sounds like this in the countryside. But what happens when he's in the quarry? The sound of Thomas's whistle has changed. Thomas's whistle echoes. Thomas wonders which of his other sounds change. What about Thomas's brakes? In the countryside, Thomas's brakes sound like this. But what happens when he's in the quarry? The sound of Thomas's brakes has changed again. Thomas's brakes echo. What about Thomas's wheels? In the countryside, Thomas's wheels make a clickety-clack sound on the track. What happens when he's in the quarry? The sound of Thomas's wheels has changed again. Thomas's wheels echo. Thomas is only one engine, but he can make a lot of different sounds.
As you go from day to day, looking for a better way, and you think you've got it all under control. So you bend the rules a bit as you try to make things fit, but you know you should be doing as you're told. Although sometimes you'll find it so hard, and the wrong way may seem easier, it doesn't matter who you are. Obey the rules and you'll go far. We all live by rules and regulations now. Isn't it a bore? Isn't it a chore? Sometimes it's so hard remembering all those strict rules, codes, laws, all the stipulations, rules and regulations now. But without those rules and regulations, where would we be now? So you see, you have to try and do the right thing every time. If you do, then you will come to the conclusion there is right and there is wrong, and the rules help you along, and they're really only there for your protection. Although sometimes you'll find it so hard, and the wrong way may seem easier, it doesn't matter who you are. Obey the rules and you'll go far. You'll go far. We all live by rules and regulations now. Isn't it a bore? Isn't it a chore? Sometimes it's so hard remembering all those strict rules, codes, laws, all the stipulations, rules and regulations now. But without those rules and regulations, where would we be now? One more time. We all live by rules and regulations now. Isn't it a bore? Isn't it a chore? Sometimes it's so hard remembering all those strict rules, codes, laws, all the stipulations,
Sodor is home to lots of Thomas's friends. Friends on the rails, friends on the roads, and even some friends in the air. They are all very different, and each very special. And they are all Thomas's friends. Thomas has two friends who don't run on the rails: Jeremy the plane and Harold the helicopter. Harold is a friend to all the engines on Sodor. Thomas always looks forward to seeing Harold. One day, all the engines were busy talking about a surprise for Thomas. Thomas puffed in. He was happy to see his friends, but his friends wouldn't talk to him. Harold flew away, and Toby chuffed off quickly. Thomas was puzzled. When Thomas arrived at Tidmouth, he was even more puzzled. There was Harold again. This time he was talking to all the engines. And still, no one would tell Thomas what they were talking about. Thomas felt very left out, so he huffed away. Thomas hid in a lonely siding. Then he heard a friendly whir and whoosh. Harold had come to find Thomas. Harold told Thomas there was to be a wonderful surprise for him. None of the engines could tell him about it because then it wouldn't be a surprise anymore. That made Thomas feel very happy. Harold told Thomas to puff quickly away. The children were waiting for him. Later, Thomas puffed into Wellsworth, and there was his surprise. A wonderful, sparkling Christmas tree. A thank you from his friends for all his hard work. Thomas was very pleased Harold had come to find him. Thomas wasn't so pleased the first time he met Jeremy the plane. It was the day of the Sodor summer picnic. Thomas was excited. He had come to collect children from the airport and take them to the picnic. Then Thomas met Jeremy. Jeremy boasted that from the air, he could see everything for miles around. Thomas could only see ahead of him on the track. That made Thomas feel he wasn't really useful. But later that day, Thomas and Jeremy were both really useful. Jeremy had seen, high up in the sky, that a bad summer storm was coming. He told Thomas that the children's picnic would be ruined. Jeremy couldn't land near the picnic to warn Sir Topham Hatt. But Thomas knew what to do. He would steam back to the children as fast as he could. He arrived at the picnic just in time. The children climbed on board, and no one got wet. Now Thomas always looks out for his friends in the air. He knows they can see things he can't, and that sometimes they can travel faster. But wherever they are, and whatever they're doing, they always help each other, because that's what good friends do. Push me, pull you. One bright spring morning at the coal yard, the yard manager was talking to Skarloey.
A puppet show is coming. The children will be excited. No one in the hills has ever seen a puppet show.
Skarloey wanted to pull the puppet show special, so he raced away. Skarloey puffed into the transfer yards. Thomas and the narrow gauge controller were already there.
Please, sir, may I pull the puppet show special?
That's a fine idea, Skarloey. Skarloey's boiler bubbled with excitement. Watch out, they're heavy. Skarloey buffered up. Slowly, Skarloey puffed away. The cars were heavy. But Skarloey was happy. The puppet show special was his. Skarloey heaved and hauled up the steep hill. At last he reached the top. Reneus was there. He was very excited to see the puppet show special.
Those cars look heavy. I could help you.
Skarloey didn't want to share his special with Reneus.
No, thank you. I can pull these cars on my own, Reneus. I'm stronger than you. No, you're not. Oh, yes, I am.
Then an idea flew into Skarloey's funnel.
We'll put the cars between us and pull our hardest. The strongest engine will pull the puppet show special.
Reneus was soon coupled up to the back of the train. They pulled with all their strength and steam. First the cars trundled one way, then they trundled the other. Skarloey was determined to win. Then Reneus heard a creaking and a cranking. He knew the couplings were being pulled too hard. But Skarloey wouldn't give up. I must win, he thought. Then there was trouble. With a crack and a clank, Reneus' coupling snapped. The puppet show cars bashed and bumped into Skarloey and pushed him down the other side of the hill. Skarloey was scared. He tried to apply his brakes, but they wouldn't work. The puppet show special rattled and roared. Skarloey flew faster down the steep hill. Skarloey saw Duncan. He was pushing cars a bunting onto the main track. Look out, Duncan! Stop! But it was too late. Skarloey crashed into Duncan's cars. Bunting flew into the air. It fell all over Skarloey. Duncan was cross.
Oh, sorry, Duncan, but I must get the puppet show to the children.
Skarloey raced on. The puppet show special clattered and shattered. Then Skarloey saw Rusty at a junction ahead. Rusty was pulling cars of special ice cream.
Out of my way! I can't stop!
Rusty stopped right across the tracks. Skarloey bashed into Rusty's cars. Ice cream flew into the air and spattered all over the engines. Rusty was cross. Now there would be no ice cream at the puppet show.
Sorry, Rusty, but I must get the puppet show to the children.
So Skarloey clattered on. Skarloey was puffing towards Percival Pond. Then there was trouble. Skarloey went round the bend too fast. He steamed into a siding. Skarloey bashed through the buffers. And with a splash, a sploosh, and a splosh, Skarloey plunged into Percival Pond.
Fizzling fireboxes. I wanted to pull the puppet show special on my own. Now look what I've done. The children won't have ice cream or flags. They won't have their puppet show. Help!
But there was no one to hear. Then Skarloey heard a whistle he knew. That's Reneus, he thought. Reneus puffed to the edge of Percival Pond. Skarloey had never been happier to see his friend.
I puffed as quickly as I could. I thought you might need my help. And I do. I wanted to show you that I was the strongest. But all I've shown you is that I'm the silliest.
But Reneus was happy to help. Slowly, Reneus heaved and hauled his friend out of the pond. At last, Skarloey was back on the rails. But his firebox was out, and his coal was wet.
Reneus, you must take the puppet show to the children.
I have other jobs to do.
Me? Thank you, Skarloey.
And Reneus puffed proudly away with the puppet show special. Scarloey had a lot to do. He delivered new cars of ice cream to Rusty. Then Scarloey found Duncan. Duncan's cars were now filled with the bunting.
I'm going to be late for the puppet show. Don't worry, Duncan. I'll help you. We'll steam to the showground in no time.
Duncan and Scarloey arrived just in time. The children were gathered round the puppet show.
Welcome, everyone, to the first puppet show in the hills.
The children cheered. Scarloey puffed up to Rheneas.
You're my best friend, Rheneas, and there's nothing stronger than friendship.
Thomas's frosty friend. The winter holiday season is a very busy time on the island of Sodor. Percy has more mail to deliver. Gordon has more visitors aboard his express. And Thomas has very important jobs to do. One morning, Thomas had to go to Brendam Docks. I must pick up the logs for Farmer McCole, he puffed. Percy was waiting at the signal when Thomas arrived. He was very excited. Look what's over there, Thomas, peeped Percy. Thomas looked. It was a big snowman. The children were excited too. I've never seen such a big snowman, chuffed Percy. Neither have I, tooted Thomas happily. The signal changed to green, and Thomas steamed away. Suddenly, a strong gust of wind lifted the snowman off the ground, away from the children. The snowman was a snowman balloon. Thomas didn't see the guide ropes catch on his buffers and get caught there. And he didn't know the balloon was now following him. Thomas stopped at the level crossing. Suddenly, the children's snowman was there in front of him. Thomas was surprised. He didn't know a snowman could dance in the air. What are you doing here, Mr. Snowman? Cried Thomas. Mr. Snowman said nothing. You must go back to the children, tooted Thomas. They'll be very sad without you. The snowman blew away. Thomas was happy the snowman had gone. He raced away from the crossing. If I puff past, chuffed Thomas, Mr. Snowman will never be able to follow me. Thomas arrived at Brendam Docks. James was there delivering coal. What are you doing with a snowman? He snorted. Oh no, tooted Thomas. Suddenly, the snowman danced in front of Thomas again. Mr. Snowman, I told you to go back to the children. Why are you still following me? Thomas steamed off as quickly as he could. He hoped the snowman wouldn't follow him. Thomas, called James, why do you have a giant balloon tied to your buffers? But Thomas didn't hear him. Farmer McCole was waiting on the platform. Thomas wished to a halt. Thomas, he exclaimed, what are you doing with that snowman? Oh no, tooted Thomas. Suddenly, the snowman danced in front of Thomas again. Mr. Snowman, I told you to go back to the children. Why are you still following me? Farmer McCole didn't understand. And Thomas didn't know how to tell Farmer McCole about his frosty friend. Thomas steamed off as quickly as he could. He hoped the snowman wouldn't follow him. Thomas, called Farmer McCole, why do you have a giant balloon tied to your buffers? But Thomas didn't hear him. Thomas had to stop at the signal at Maithwaite Station. Emily was picking up passengers. Emily could see the snowman bobbing about behind Thomas. Thomas, laughed Emily. What are you doing with that snowman? Oh, no, tooted Thomas. Suddenly, the snowman floated in front of Thomas again. Mr. Snowman, I told you to go back to the children, cried Thomas. Why are you still following me? Thomas steamed off as quickly as he could. He hoped that the snowman wouldn't follow him. Thomas, whistled Emily, why do you have a giant balloon tied to your buffers? But Thomas didn't hear her. He didn't know how to make Mr. Snowman go back to the children. Then he had an idea. I'll hide, puffed Thomas quietly. Thomas chuffed into a lonely siding. He couldn't see the snowman. Mr. Snowman won't be able to find me. Then he will have to go back to the children. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew hard. Mr. Snowman danced in front of Thomas again. He was still following him. I must tell Sir Topham Hatt what has happened, cried Thomas. I need his help. And Thomas raced off. Thomas puffed back into Maithwaite Station. Farmer McCole and Sir Topham Hatt were there. Please, sir, peeped Thomas. I don't know what to do. I've tried to tell Mr. Snowman to go back to the children, but he has been following me everywhere. And he still is, laughed Sir Topham Hatt. The snowman is a balloon, Thomas. And he is caught on your buffers. He is following you because you are pulling him. A balloon? Whistled Thomas. I thought snowmen were always made of snow and ice. Thomas felt very happy. Now he could take the Mr. Snowman balloon back to the children. The children were delighted to see Thomas and Mr. Snowman. They cheered and cheered. And Thomas was very happy to have returned their frosty friend.